So, Scott. You want to do up there? Okay, Robert,
Yes.
Margaret,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Patrick.
Bye, video.
Oh, yes, Patrick, who was on the, who was on Zoom? Patrick
Patrick.
and John Kimball. Okay.
And we have Jerry,
Absent.
Christina,
Present.
and Bonnie.
Present. Well, we certainly have a quorum.
Motion to appoint Christina to fill another vacancy.
Okay, we have a motion for Christina to fill a vacancy.
I'll second that.
Second that. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that unanimous? Yes. Okay, unanimous. All right, thank you. Approval of the minutes of December 19th. That was in your packet, via, there's probably copies here, but it was not in your attachment to your package you got on email, via email.
I'll make a motion to accept them. I did read them. I
Mhm.
didn't see anything that I found fault with. So
Okay,
I have one small change in
okay,
the section where we talked about the reasons for approving Rex as not a subdivision with the reference RSA 205.
I hope I took that off.
That's it. With that change.
All
say that
right,
again.
yeah, what was, I'm sorry,
Where we were talking about Rex's project not being a subdivision, we gave the reason that it's in accordance with RSA 205A.
Don't know what RSA 205A is off the
It
top of
talks
my head.
about mobile parks.
Oh, okay.
okay. All right, let's power it off. Any other corrections, areas? Anybody make a second to the motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll say it as amended.
Okay. All in favor, you want to do the roll call?
Do I just, no, just go.
Just go down. Yeah.
Robert,
Yes.
Margaret.
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Patrick,
Abstain.
Christina,
Yes.
and Bonnie.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Selectmen's report, Scott isn't here, so we don't have one. And you'll know, we have about 4 different discussions tonight. And I put on the agenda that the times are approximate. Because obviously I only spaced them 15 minutes apart, and some of them might take more than 15, so the one you're interested in, it might not be heard at 6:30, it might be 7 by the time we get there, but just so that I underestimated so that you wouldn't miss anything and you'd certainly be here. So we have some time, 6:15 hasn't arrived, so we can jump down to a few other things if we want. We received. Is there a question from the audience? It looks like we have some more have joined us. Cheryl Reardon has joined us. Okay, we have a letter of intent, interested in becoming an alternate to the board. There's no position open, but we got a letter. I can read it if you want. John Kane desires to join the Woodstock Board. I've been a resident of Woodstock since 2015, long enough to see and hear from the town's residents, many of the wants and needs of the Woodstock's various areas. Woodstock is quintessential small town America. Thus, the planning board should strive to meet the infrastructure, economic, and residential requirements of its neighborhoods with the town's history in mind. This can be done while conserving Woodstock's traditions and simultaneously growing in revenue which the town depends on financially. Woodstock is moving into the future. This is unavoidable. Therefore, it's the responsibility of the planning board to lay out the town's design, keeping in mind all who reside here. This task can be done competently with the right people on the board. Woodstock can accomplish these tasks with good planning. I believe I am uniquely equipped to support in these tasks. Respectfully, John Payne. So is there,
When a discussion,
yes,
the elections are like weeks away. And anybody we appoint for that short period of time, that would end with the new elections
Right.
and then would need to be done all over again, so. With it literally weeks away, I would assume you're running for one of the positions too, right?
I haven't made a decision on that yet. I'm just trying to get onto the alternate, because an alternate at this point, as far as running for the election, I haven't actually even considered that. yet.
You're aware of the timeline and when you would need to submit for running.
Yeah.
If you wanted to run.
Yeah, I
Because
understand
that timeline's coming up in what,
January, the time period, and I emailed everybody, the time period is January 25th through February 4th. We have 2 3-year positions available, 1 2-year position available, and 1 1-year position available. So there are 4 opportunities on the ballot to become a member. We still have the opportunity to have 2 alternates. So there are literally 6 positions available.
But the alternates are not
The alternates are appointed by us.
okay,
yes,
Yeah.
which after an election, they'd have to be.
they have to redo it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And, you know, I basically, and we have, because Jerry is new and needs to, and Christina. And, what was that list? Jerry, Christina. And are new. And you're up, I'm up,
I think I am.
and you are. Yeah, so we have 5 people that are currently involved. And there's 4 elected positions. So not all 5 that are currently involved are gonna make it as an elected member, but there's the opportunity for an alternate. And if you came on now, then, you know, there would be 6 people interested in 4 positions. And luckily, there's 2 alternate positions, so theoretically, everybody could end up with something. It's possible. But, and you can move from an alternate to a full board position. You can run, even if you're currently an alternate now, you can run for a full position or decide to remain an alternate. So what does the group want to do? Do we want to? We have an opportunity for 2 alternates. Do we want to fill the 2nd position now with the election coming up? Or, and knowing it would be, there's only 2 meetings, actually 2 meetings, because almost always the planning board meets the night before town meeting.
Before, yeah.
So there's 2 meetings left after this to participate before the election. So does anybody have any thoughts one way or the other? Robert has expressed his thought.
I just am thinking, we're gonna have to redo it again right afterwards. And it's literally like 2 meetings to go between now and then, and it creates obviously work in the town office, and they gotta swear you in, they gotta get you the books, and they've gotta do all these things for that short period of time. If you choose to run, that's great. If you want to revisit this, so we don't have to do it twice in that 2-month period, that would be good too, if you're okay with that.
I haven't actually really considered it the way you're looking at it.
I mean,
How much work is it to do a swearing in and hand somebody some books with it? Doesn't seem to be too much.
Well, they got to order folks.
They gotta work.
So what is the sense of the board as a whole?
As an alternate perspective, when I joined, I was only participating as an alternate for a couple meetings, and it gave me a taste of being on the board, and I decided afterwards that I do want to run, so.
Yeah.
It certainly goes that way.
Either way, changed your mind.
I mean, my
I'm not
attitude-
against the idea, I'm just saying,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
you know, this is what is gonna happen.
No, I understand what you're saying. I mean, my attitude about it right now is kind of like her. I'm just trying to get the experience, contribute, make a determination. If I wanted to run, maybe I can figure that out in 2 meetings.
I think,
Maybe I won't. I'm not
I
sure.
think my thoughts are, it's so refreshing to have so many people interested in helping out. This is a good possibility. We have more than the 6 slots. We have 8 people interested in participating, so I think in my mind, it seems to be a good thing. And
Bonnie Ham,
yes,
we're talking about the alternate position, correct?
yes,
All right. I have a problem, okay, they can run it, they can run for election, but I have a problem having a married couple on the board. I remember another board had that problem where the town auditors balked at it. So that should be, before that happens, that should be checked out by legal. You know, because it's just too close of a relationship. And I remember that the board that was questioned, both of the parties were elected. And the board and the auditors all threw a fit about it. I just saying before anybody appoints, and I don't think it should be done tonight. I agree with Rob. The election's a short period of time off. It you know, for the next, you're only talking 1 meeting after today, because I believe the election is before the next planning board meeting in March. So you would only talk about one meeting. So why are you going to appoint somebody for 1 meeting?
yeah, there's 2 meetings ahead. Because we always have the one the night before. We usually don't do
We typically don't do much business in March.
we don't make a ton of decisions in March, the day before an election. And you might have a whole different group the next day. We generally don't make major decisions in March for that reason. Does anybody want to make a motion either way, and we'll vote on it one way or the other?
I make a motion that we do not entertain appointing anybody until after the election.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Robert, seconds it, okay. Is there any other discussion on the issue?
There is some wisdom to what Patrick suggested, that we double check with our town attorney, to make sure that there's no concern about having a married couple be on
Don't
together.
think there is.
I don't think there is either, but it is worth
Um,
double checking it before we appoint them.
If there is, there shouldn't be. But at the same time, I understand where Patrick's coming from, and I can understand where that may have been a problem somewhere else, so. Some guidance on that is acceptable.
Yeah.
I know there are exceptions.
But,
With,
and it's because we're only talking 2 more meetings,
Right,
that's why I'm kind of okay with this.
there are certain combinations of offices that are not are not legal, certain combinations. But I don't think, you know, two married folks on the planning board is one of the excluded situations. Are you all right with that approach, John? Or would
You mean
have-
waiting until March?
Yes. Or-
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with doing it now, waiting until March. I'd rather do it now, but
All right, he wants us to, so we'll have a vote now. He wants us to vote on it now. So we have a motion and a second. To wait until March to make any new appointments.
There is another question.
Uh-huh,
Wife would have to abstain. There's a conflict of interest there.
Okay.
all right. You're willing to,
No,
I don't know.
we
if
don't
you-
always agree, so.
I believe my wife is here, you know, she'd be saying the same thing.
I don't
So-
know that she has to, but you're willing. to.
Okay, I will.
Okay, all right. You wanna call the, roll call? Okay.
So Robert, and Margaret,
Robert, you are
But
a,
he made them, so
yeah, but he can
second,
vote.
just to be clear, we're voting on the question of postponing until after the election, right?
Yeah,
We worded it that way, that we are going to postpone
Okay.
John Payne's,
so
appointment
yes,
as
is
an alternate.
postponing.
We are
That
going
was
to
not-
postpone John Payne's, appointment as an alternate consideration until after town
Okay.
meeting.
Robert,
Yes,
Margaret,
Yes,
Diane, no. Patrick,
Yes,
Christina's and Bonnie.
no. So, the motion carries. And, you know, and in either case, even if we were incorrect, then, and Christina could vote. Let's just say we were incorrect, it would have tied it up. So,
If she said that.
if she said no. I'm assuming she would, but if she said no,
hey Bonnie,
yes,
that vote was just for my motion to put it off until after the election, right?
yes.
Yes.
That's it, that's it. Not on the candidacy or anything, you know, in the future, let's just wait till after town meeting. Let's just wait.
And I just wanted I just want clarification, that was my motion, that was what we were voting on.
Yes, that's what we voted on to.
Thank you.
postpone Any appointments until after the, town meeting. All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, thank you. And I think we have come to the 6:15 time period. And we will open up the public hearing for a boundary line adjustment on property of Linda Sanders Revocable Trust and Donald E. Sanders Revocable Trust and property of Richard Rand III and Wendy Rand. So I assume, Steve, you're here to represent
Yes, that's correct.
and you also one of the parties. We got that, we got that.
I didn't see it in here.
Okay,
but you could show us the drawing.
he's gonna show us the drawing, yeah. And all the notices went out, and, let's see, not all of them came back, let's see. The, United States of America National Forest. Dartmouth College did not.
That's one.
Candy and Jeffrey Long did not, they're out of town. And,
Okay.
all right, with that noted. And the fees have been paid, yeah, the fees have been paid. And that noted, maybe you can tell us, and anybody can come up here and look at the plan if they want to, as Steve describes it.
So, good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Power. I'm a land surveyor here in Woodstock. And I'm here tonight, on behalf of the, Sanders Revocable Trust and the Richard and Wendy Rand. They would like to do a boundary adjustment between themselves. The idea of the adjustment is, the Sanders Revocable Trust, which is a large, wooded property. Yeah, it's this block here, kind of pointing out to everybody. Would be transferring, 2.68 acres to the Rand property, which is this property. You can see there's a low of what's going on,
Okay.
to give you a better idea. So that hatched area, that's the piece that's being transferred from the Sanders piece, which is this big piece here, okay? The land being transferred is wooded, it's undeveloped. And it would become part of Richard and Wendy's property, making their property go from 5.59 acres to 8.27 acres. There's no anticipated development. This is simply a transfer of land to make the Rand property a little larger. Okay. The Rand property is developed. Richard and Wendy live there in this house. There's a septic system, well, a lot of stuff. But this is simply a transfer to make their property bigger. Anybody, any questions?
No, this is, isn't this where Gil lives?
No, Gil lives right here. This is Gil's house.
Oh,
This is a swap among the.
This is,
It-
this was the Sanders house. It was sold to these folks here, Deanna Rossi and Eric and Juan and so.
so that's up at the drive, go up the hill, up the driveway and off to there.
Yep.
And this road goes all the way up there?
Yep,
And that's a town road,
yeah, it's a class, I believe it's a class 6 road.
class 6,
Yeah.
town owned.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's class 6 road, so it's not main.
Class 6 town unmaintained.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Any other questions?
we have another here, Suzanne, do you have any comments?
So we just, I know where it is, but
Do you have any objections or any comments on this? All right, so both parcels have sewer and water and it's buildable or,
Well, so the Sanders parcel is a large wood lot.
right,
So, you know, it's undeveloped. There's nothing on it right now.
nothing's on that one,
Right.
but
The Rand parcel,
land
yeah, there's,
parcel.
yeah, there's buildings on it, a septic system. Oh, well, it's already developed. Yeah,
And that parcel's gonna become
larger.
bigger.
Yep.
Larger, and
Yep,
it
so-
already has sewer and water
Yeah, private septic system. And
in its existing size, so more is.
right, it's getting bigger, so
More
because
is
this,
not a worse,
right, and because this, you know, their existing parcel is over 5 acres, there's no state subdivision
Right.
approval needed whatsoever, so the state's not involved with that.
on this one.
Yeah.
Well, it is on this is,
Well, on either, because both parcels are bigger than 5 acres, so we don't have to worry about
Okay.
it at all.
I'll make a motion to accept this. This is about as easy as it gets,
Yeah.
everything I've ever seen, so.
sure is.
Let me see.
Any questions from the audience?
Yeah,
Anybody
look at that. That's gonna be.
from anybody in the audience? All right, we have a motion to accept this lot line adjustment. I'll second it. And Margaret seconds it. Any other questions? You wanna,
Anybody online?
anybody online have any questions?
No,
All right. Do you want to do the roll?
wait a
call?
minute. Hey, Bonnie,
Yes,
was Steve Tower involved in this?
yes, that's who was doing.
Then I vote no, never mind. All right. No,
Okay. Robert,
Yes.
Margaret,
Yes,
Diane. Yes. Patrick,
yes,
Christina,
yes,
and Bonnie.
yes. Congratulations, and you have the right number of.
I have 5 prints, right?
five
And a
prints
Mylar.
here. And a Mylar.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Give this to you.
We'll get it signed because we're gonna 2 minutes.
How many of these do we have to
Yeah.
keep and how many
I think
think
you
you'll
need
take?
one. I think you need 5. Oh, 5. Yeah,
I
she can sign them. I don't know if you can keep them all or not.
think we have to. How
I
many
can-
did you say there were?
5,
Yeah.
5 copies on a Mylar.
Yeah, we gotta keep them.
If I can get in, I'll trip it over, you know.
It seems,
And you got one right there, so it's 6.
okay. Well, maybe, it seems excessive, but the assessors need one, the town office needs one, we need one. Who else needs one? Is it? a few folks, that five in a Mylar, so we've got six. Now. You can take one.
I'll give one to go.
Haven't told the new members it's their job, but learn how to hold these things. That was a rule we used to have. Well, be a member, you gotta learn how to hold them. So this shows, so the talk about what it is shows.
Right.
And we do the recording. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank you, Bonnie. Good night. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Looks like that. Oh.
All right, we now will go back to the agenda. And we have a couple of minutes, so maybe we can tackle something else. Is there any other business? Anybody in the audience wanted to ask us a quick question or anything before we go on to the hearings? All right.
We have a great thing we could do just to approve our calendar.
Oh, yes, we could do that. We have a new calendar of all the dates for our meetings this next year. They're always the second Monday, unless the second Monday happens to be a holiday. And then it gets shifted to the following Monday.
It's the only month that occurs is October.
In October, okay. Must be Columbus Day, yeah. All right, so that'll be available and posted on the website so that you know when meetings are coming up. And the real importance there is, if you want to submit anything to us, it has to be 21 days before that date. So say you want to come in for some sort of a subdivision or anything. We have to get notice of that and the documents 21 days on. That's why it's important to keep track of those dates. Do we have anything else? We're at 6:30. All right, we're at 6:30. All right, I will open the public hearing to consider proposed amendments to the Woodstock Earth Excavation Ordinance. We have copies here if people want to look at it. And we have a sheet of the amendments we're proposing. They're not a complete rewrite or anything like that. They're just a few amendments. These are if the folks in the audience want to see the changes we're suggesting making. Okay, and board members, if you want to refresh your memory of the changes we're talking about. And a subcommittee worked on it, Diane and Jerry worked on it, and looked at it. Don't know about it. And came up with these as suggested amendments to take to town meeting. And so, oops, go on.
So two billion.
And we have copies of the, original amendment, original ordinance too. If maybe you need that to read down through. Let's see. All right, we don't have a ton of them, but. Do the board members need, who needs one on the board to? Anybody else need one? Anybody else? This is the current one, so you can look at those sections and see how it changes it. All right. What that?
What is it?
Oh, that's the current ordinance. Do we have some more? Do we have an extra one? Oh. Well, no, the ordinance, so, okay.
Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah,
I thought Jerry was gonna be here.
I might,
I thought the two things is that we weren't gonna hold them up. About the whole project of any of.
that was one of them, and the word change to shall. All right, can you go make,
And it was, yes, the shop.
we'll make
Yeah,
another
that's-
copy,
Yeah, that's what I mean, it's, should be.
not that,
Sure.
the current one. Can you make another copy? Sure. Because there's somebody else that wants one to make. Make two.
This doesn't go to town meeting.
Oh, that's right, it does not go to town, you're right, you're right. The master plan doesn't either,
Yeah, no, it's only the flood plan.
the floodplain is the one that goes to town meeting, the subdivision does not. The master plan does not. The earth excavation doesn't. And there's more of it, but anyway, it's the floodplain, yeah, you're right. And you can, it's note, we adopted it, what's the date of adoption?
It was revised on,
February
2021.
2021.
That's just under 2 years ago.
What's she making copies of?
Making 2 copies of the original so that the folks in the audience can see what the original says, and what change means. Did anybody come to the town office to get copies? I think there was a little interest, wasn't there? Came,
There's one.
there was one, yeah, came and got a copy
Which one? This
of
or?
the original and the proposed change. It was available at the office, and I don't know, that's why I was wondering why we had only had 3 and not about 10 or so left.
So the cat's tail under the chair.
What was that?
Someone just joined in the Zoom on the phone. It sounds like they maybe have a baby in the background.
Oh,
I thought baby when I heard. But I just don't have a cat, so I don't know.
It could sound like that.
We're burning up the copier in there. We've got so many ordinances that we're drafting and redrafting. We're making the 30, 40, 10 copies all the time. So everybody's got one that wants one that shows, and you can read down through and see. And the one we're amending was adopted February 8th, 2021, and it's up to us on this vote. It's the board that doesn't have to go to town meeting. So if you look at the proposed changes, section 3L. So if we go to section 3, it's in the definition. And it's L. Well, here we are. Incidental to excavation. And the explanation was the town may not limit the exemption for excavation incidental to construction to those which remove no more than 1,000 cubic yards. For small amounts, landscaping and just excavating a small amount. We cannot limit the exemption for that. In other words, we have to exempt those types of excavations. Since the state has entirely exempted excavations incidental to construction, the town cannot regulate them. So when you're building your lot, or you're building a driveway, or you're just making a minor adjustments to a lot, the planning board does not regulate those types of excavations. Section 4. B4. The town cannot require the submission of state permits as part of the application. However, the town can make a condition of approval that those state permits are received. So, in other words, this goes to the point that
We'd like to get the information in as soon as we can to know what we can do to help and maybe lend some guidance to whatever might be done. So it means without having to submit your permit, submit your permit requirements, you can submit your application and then deal with your permit requirements and then bring that information in later.
okay, section 6. Changing the word should to shall.
In the first line.
In the first line. The following statement standards shall be incorporated into the site excavation plan and all conditions to permit approval. Section 7D. D, add at the end of the section work may proceed or portions of the site on portions of the site not requiring state permits before those permits are received. And that goes to the point, that we ran into, this last year. That if you need a permit, in one part of the project, you need a permit to excavate over here. So long as you're not gonna excavate over here, you're gonna stay over there. You don't need the state permit until you move over into the section that requires the permit. In other words, you shouldn't hold up the whole project for a permit for excavating in a portion of the property you don't intend to excavate in now or next year or 6 months from now or even 2 or 3 years from now. That if you don't need the permit now, then you can start excavating in other sections of the property. Section 9E, the regulations do not need to be reported or sent to Office of Energy and OEP, that's Office of Energy and Planning. We can send them there if we want, but we're not required to. So does anybody in the audience have any questions about these changes?
I just have one basic question.
Sure.
Does this have to be done today? The changes that you're,
Doesn't have to be, can be done if, if there's no comments from the public and the board feels like they want to make a motion and approve the ordinance with these changes, we can tonight. There's no, or not.
Okay.
Or not. Did you have a concern or something that you wanted researched or whatever?
not necessarily, I was just wondering if it was so pertinent that it was gonna get done today. That's all.
All right.
Well, it's been kind of dragging on for a while, so
It-
wouldn't hurt.
It can, if that's the feeling of the board, it can. Does anybody in the audience have any comments or concerns with these changes as proposed? Or other changes you wanna see made? Anybody on the board, anybody in the audience? Think of anything else you wanna change while we're at it?
I know, this is your baby.
Bonnie,
If you
Pat?
make a motion.
Yes.
yeah. What are we talking about? Excavation or are we talking about flood?
Excavation.
No, only
We're
excavation.
on excavation.
I'm sorry.
We're on excavation and we're
What hap-
proposing, we're on earth excavation and we're proposing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 changes.
All right, and what, didn't I hear you talking about flood a little while ago? What happened with that? Did I miss something?
No, we're gonna come to that later on tonight. We'll get
Okay.
there.
I'll
We'll
talk
get
about
there.
that. All right,
Okay.
so are
And
we gonna
that
be, what are we voting on with the earth excavation? These changes?
These 5 changes, if we vote tonight, it will be on these 5 suggested changes.
All right, all right, thank.
All right,
I'll make a motion to accept the
okay,
changes.
all right. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Christina will second it. Any other comments before we vote? All right, you want to do the roll call?
Robert,
Yes.
Margaret. Yes. Diane,
Yes,
Patrick,
I'm gonna abstain because I can't, oh, well, hold on a second, I have it here. Hold on, give me a second. I don't know, why are we doing, I just have a question, why are we doing earth excavation when it was done in 2021?
Because there was perceived that there were some improvements or changes that we could make, amendments we could make that in the subcommittee's mind, and this was reviewed by the attorney and found to be legal. These were proposed changes that were suggested, given experiences had in recent history. They basically, it's just reinstating that if the project is less than 1,000 cubic yards, it's incidental and we don't regulate it. That's for driveways and lot development or build a septic system or something. They're very small projects, and so making it clear in the ordinance, we don't regulate that. The second one,
I
that
have current, but I don't see the revised.
it was an attachment on,
Yeah, I downloaded them all and I thought I did anyway, but anyway, okay, go ahead.
and the second one said that, you don't necessarily have to have all your state permits and all that business as part of your initial application. In other words, you can submit the application. We can make it a condition of approval that you go get them, but we can accept an application prior for having them all.
Specifically, it states that we can require that the permits exist, but we can't require that they submit copies to us with the application.
All right,
It's not legal for us to ask for those.
Right.
And then there's a
Because
cleaning up of the language of changing should to shall to reduce ambiguity.
And then there's the, what I said before, work can proceed on portions of the site in advance of getting the state permits. So long as you have them, by the time you need them. Any comments from the audience gathered or on Zoom?
We're already voting.
Okay, we're already in the voting.
We're just clarifying for the voter.
Okay, all right.
Patrick.
Yeah, or nay, Patrick?
yes.
Okay,
Christina. Yes. And Bonnie.
yes. All right, we will get the ordinance amended. Get these changes into the draft of the ordinance. And it'll be effective as of tonight, this date, January 9th. Any project coming before us henceforth will be subject to these new regulations. All right. Now we have gone past the hour of what we called the listening session concerning the master plan. And last month we put together sort of a boilerplate or an outline or a draft. But in essence, the master plan we're due for revision. I think it's a 2012 or thereabout document, 2011. We did a revision of it. That was, when was it?
A year ago.
That's good to say. I was on one in 2012.
Well, maybe, yeah, no, that's
Scott and I did it about a year ago as well.
subdivision.
I would say you would start. I didn't as much as I should have. I just wasn't in the right place at that time.
I don't know.
It was fairly hastily revised, and we didn't get the opportunity for public input.
We didn't,
We wanted to,
we didn't.
and that's the reason why we're opening it up now, is that we realize that for a master plan to really represent the community, we need to have the opportunity for the public to express themselves about what they'd like to see our town grow into.
You had some nice input and comments at the last meeting that showed, the key points that the people wanted to see and had interest in. which all surrounded around the growth and development of the town.
There's some.
you're required to have a master plan, that's supposed to be the tool by which the planning board, plans. And they're the planning, agency of the town, and I'll read the purpose of it. And it shall be the duty of every planning board established to prepare and amend from time to time a master plan to guide the development of the municipality. The purpose of the master plan is to set down as clearly and practically as possible the best and most appropriate future development of the area under the jurisdiction of the planning board. The master plan is to aid the board in designing ordinance that will result in preserving and enhancing the unique qualities of the life and culture of New Hampshire. The master plan is to guide the planning board in the performance of its other duties in a manner that achieves the principle of smart growth, sound planning, and wise resource protection. The master plan shall be a set of statements and land use and development principles for the municipality of Woodstock. Each section of the master plan shall be consistent with the other in its implementation of the vision section. So, that is, why we're looking at it, is that it's supposed to be a document in which you take into consideration your current situations, your current land uses, your current industries, your current business climate, your current desires of the residents and citizens. See what you got, think through what you got, and kind of think ahead where you're headed, or where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. We have no zoning, and but a master plan can help guide us as citizens in a town in a direction that we will find desirable, and quality of life and business opportunities and housing opportunities that transportation needs that we can foresee. So what we decided to do is scrap old idea of the master plan and maybe just boil it down to the basics. Basically 3 or 4 sections. One that talks about our vision. What do we want to see? What are our desires? And what are our assets and what are our goals? And keeping in mind, what are our land uses? What do we have for land? What is our land like? What is our land suitable for? And both now and into the future. So we broke it down, the subcommittee that worked on it just put together a draft. I mean, almost like 4 sections, like you have four different sections. One talking about what is our vision? What do we want? What do not just the planning board wants, what do the citizens want? What does the town want? And what makes sense in keeping with what's going on in the region and what's going on in the economy and the state of New Hampshire? And what are our assets like? Any unique qualities we have? Any opportunities for the future? And what do we want to make priorities? I mean, when we talked about it last time, obviously some are, our infrastructure and our business community and transportation needs, housing and employment. Those have to be priorities. We can't just plan something that that doesn't have the infrastructure or doesn't have the employees or isn't suitable to our town and, land use, present and future. So it can be as simple as like 4 statements. What do we want to see? And for us to know, we need to hear from people that live here. I mean, we can't make it up. The 7 or 8 of us can't just sit here and say, oh, that'd be great. It can't be our plan or what we think. It's got to be what the citizens want. Given what we have to work with. And given some of the things that are going on anyway. I mean, obviously, we have tourism going on. And we have to think through that. To what extent do we want to encourage more of that, or guide more of that, and so forth. So we need to hear from our voters. Cheryl?
I think, this is just my opinion, I think going through with this master plan also, you should be thinking of the people who have lived here all their lives, or the people that live here all the time, not the tourists, not people who are just taxpayers, but we, the people who are here 365 days, maybe going on vacation for a week, but we're the ones who are here all the time. And live here all the time. Our children live here, our grandchildren hopefully will live here too, but live here now. So to me, that's what some of this should be geared toward, is we who have stick it out, live here, have lived here, and plan on staying here.
Yes, one thing we were considering was having like some citizens, they join with us to help us do that specific thing that you just mentioned.
Wonder if they're mailing or something like that, but.
Yeah,
Kind of get them.
No, the time that it was done for the zoning thing and you had the meeting down at the
Right.
town hall. Repeat that, that was pretty effective and gathered a lot of people. Of course, it was a little bit more controversial of topics, but.
Yes, this
But,
is not zoning. Don't anybody think
No,
we're talking about a master plan because we're trying to sneak in zoning. That is far from the truth. That is not what we're up to. But you know, even if you're not interested in zoning, we need to be interested in kind of directing.
Well, have a vision of what Main Street's gonna look like, have a good one.
Right.
Cascades. I mean, these are beautiful spots that should be cherished, they have been. And,
But now.
And
for
time.
us to go to Cascades is not like when we
No.
went to Cascades.
Yeah, that was only townspeople that went to them.
Exactly.
you can't hardly find it, not only that, but you can't find a spot to sit on a rock.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, no, you know, this can be a very positive and constructive, process. And, Christina and I were a committee of 2 that just researched it a little bit and figured out what we had to have. And like we said last month, it doesn't need to be a big document and inventorying the rivers and the trees and the birds and
no.
the bees and all those down things. It just a short document stating what we value, what we treasure, what we want to try to protect the best way we can. And you know, there's a lot that enters into it. Should we get involved in regional things going on? We certainly can. We certainly, as a town, can ask questions about what's going on in surrounding towns or surrounding regions or even the state of New Hampshire. If we feel like it affects us negatively, we can speak up if we want to go that far.
And it should include a discussion of what has happened, for changes.
right,
I mean, so many different things have occurred, including the population.
Yeah.
I mean, the youth population is half of what it was when I was a kid. And what's the trends in that? These types of things are all
That
gonna be,
affects school and all that.
Yeah.
Seems strange that the board's meeting this big. And that might be promoted so that our children and our grandchildren would stay. It's awful to have them see them go.
and we did note, and it's been brought up to us that the demographics have changed. Just like you said,
We've got a lot of second home.
I bet the inventory of second homes far exceeds, the inventory of, what we would call residence homes, locals homes. And the age, as you just said, the age and the makeup of the population has definitely changed.
there were only 2 kids born in both Woodstock last year. And there were only 2 kids born in Lincoln last year. That's 4.
Wow.
And so, somehow we've got to take a look at, what's going on and how we can direct it.
Maintain the quality of,
Yeah.
the uniqueness of this little town, It's hard to do it that way when it's not personal, when you're not. If you're just visiting, it's a different story.
Mhm.
Well, so, some comments that have come up already is, that, keeping Main Street, unique, and I think it was you who wanted to know about what we meant by quaint. Maybe another word better, but, we've got a unique downtown area. And we've got local businesses that are, and local residents, as Sherry said, that are involved in the downtown area and want to see it be a neat downtown area and not get gobbled up, into a, strip. Maybe we can open our eyes and look next door and see, and I think there's some of us that want to kind of learn what's going on next door, and maybe we want to be slightly different. Maybe we do, maybe we don't.
It's a tough thing because look at Littleton, for example. Everything is moved out into that strip over where Lowe's and everything is
Yeah.
now. Rather than, the town has kept its quaint, but it's kept a lot of empty buildings that are quaint. You have to look at things in terms of what is the societal norms becoming. So, I mean, Wilson's gas station is still there. That is not quaint. That thing needs to be dug out, cleaned up, and, I remember going there as a kid, it was gas.
Don't forget Jerry started in the garage.
Yeah.
In Burlington.
Yep, that was before the garage was turned into a brownfield. It was a toxic. Yeah.
No, but that is a good piece of property.
Yeah. If somebody would do something with it, that's great, but the cost of doing it.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe the town's got to consider, we've got 2 sites like that on Main Street. One right there at the intersection, and then Wilson's Mobile.
We've got the landmark that's sitting here,
Yeah.
sad looking.
Yeah.
We have opportunities. I mean, we have opportunities. It's not like
Maybe we need
it's too
to,
late, there's nothing left to kind of plan for. So anyway, this is just the start of it. We don't have any deadline. This is not town meeting.
Right.
Vote. We don't
that's
have
an
any
interesting
deadline.
thing to put on the warrant article, the possibility of doing some type of bond or, tax abatement for properties in that condition. The brownfield factor, those 2 garages. So that somebody might be motivated to actually sink some money in and clean those up so they could be used.
Because right now, you can't do anything.
I don't think the mobile station's got anything to do with,
That's the guy that owns the,
I don't think either one of them are environmental problems, are they?
Both of them.
I would
Both of them
think so,
have
if they've got
leaking
gas.
fuel tanks under
Think
there.
so?
Yep.
I don't seem to be
I
aware.
wish that wasn't the case,
I-
because I wanted to buy that property, and that's the reason
I
I did
don't-
not buy it.
Seem to be
For both of
aware
them?
that the,
No, I'm talking about the one at the intersection.
The brown one?
The motorcycle one?
Yeah, the motorcycle, one.
Motorcycle
It's
one?
considered brownfield, meaning that soil is full of oil.
Okay, so it's had,
Is Wilson contaminated?
That's what I heard, but you know, I
Uh,
can't say that 100%.
don't
sure.
believe that. I don't believe either one is. I mean, I.
I think did their soil stuff.
When I went to buy it,
it's
and I had it
okay,
checked, I was told no.
or is it contaminated? No.
But there's money, there was federal money allocated to clean up for what it was, and now where it's at, there's still money, but it was sold as is with no contaminant. What he does with it, it's money. How's the money? If you guys sign over $1 million something dollars, he probably put a big, beautiful building there, but. He bought it, he cleaned up, it looks a lot better than junk cars and balloons and whatever else there is, so nothing's better than something right at the moment.
Is that by Wilson's?
Yeah, Wilson. And Scream and Skip probably all tied up in. Whatever else. That's what happens when you go with a younger woman.
I always thought Scream and Skips was a great place for a little, you know, 50s type diner kind of thing,
I thought,
you know.
I
So,
don't know if anyone remembers the old series Northern Exposure.
Oh, yeah.
oh, yes,
That's what I pictured that. I pictured a pizza place, you know, just to take out type 1, so that would take care of those kind of people just rolling around. And a radio station include the high school with responsibility. Yeah,
Yeah, it's up in Washington State.
yeah, but I was just thinking, how cool would that be with an open mic where people could come in and talk about something and just kind of keep it local, but
that would be real
it would
quaint.
be quick. No, I'm serious. Well, we are.
To use that
I
word.
mean, we had a moose walking around the neighborhood, you know, it's like a.
No,
So-
we have a lot of interests, there's a lot, we have a lot of
Not have to be
resources,
good.
we have resources and we have interest and we have desire. So now we just gotta try to figure out how to accomplish it, direct it, figure out exactly what it is that we want. What do we want, you know, so it's a process that we're gonna start, we've taken on the project. We wanna hear from people, we put it in the paper, we put it on the chamber or website. We made a little more noise about, you know, the opportunity tonight, but we're just getting going. And,
Just the meeting. What's the thing?
what's that?
When is the meeting?
Well, tonight, we put tonight,
Oh, the advertising.
yes, yeah, tonight.
Tonight.
So we haven't, if there's citizens that wanna help us become part of some sort of a subgroup or a subcommittee to help us figure it out, if there's, anybody has any ideas, if people wanna email us or write us or participate in what, like a meeting down to the town hall or coffee collapses anywhere or whatever. So we can generate ideas.
Yeah, if you open it up and people with passion, hopefully some money or some good ideas, because you've got the business community that you need to support them.
Mhm.
And, but you also have the residents that still want to keep, you know, like School Street is all Airbnb pretty much. Well, there's I guess about 4 or 5 houses that are still privately owned. So,
And that becomes difficult when you talk about supporting them, because so many people in the town have not had any town support
mhm,
ever.
mhm.
And it's hard for them to want to get behind something
Oh,
sometimes.
totally,
you know.
totally get that, but unless you put it in there as food for thought. And then somebody might say something that make it all click.
Oh, yeah, somebody's gonna come up with some wonderful ideas that.
I just don't want it to look like every other, like, You know, Burlington had Church Street. Same thing as the main street in Boulder. Same rocks, same fake rocks, the same lamps and everything. And I thought, why would you cookie cutter? You know, two places, but that's what they do, so.
Yeah.
So the goal then is just to get a consensus, is what it is.
Yeah, on consensus.
What's needed, what's wanted.
The first goal is just get input.
Right.
Whether it has consensus or not, it's just. Here's some ideas.
Well, I've heard two ideas that I think are good. Roberts had a meeting like we had for the zoning one. That was
Yeah.
a good meeting. It was a little ruckus, but it was good. And Christina said kind of going door to door, which requires more work, but also more personal.
We can use North Country Council for some of the questioning of the locals, which we're already a member of.
We did do that?
Well,
Hey,
it's
Bonnie,
by the select.
Yeah.
board,
The select board did. but
Which-
we didn't.
But we.
Which ca-
It was for the town, not.
which camera is pointed towards the audience? Whatever camera is towards the audience, I cannot see the audience. I can only see the ceiling.
Uh-oh, all right.
Little more, keep going. All right, well, that's better. Thank you.
All right, thank
Okay.
you. Does, anybody who's listening in have any thoughts? Anything they want to say right now? All right, so yeah, we've generated some ideas, see what North Country Council might do to help, door to door, a meeting. Just have it on our mind and think about it and pass along thoughts. Just have it on your mind. What do we want to be? Look at how far we've come. I mean, over the years. From, we've gone through mill, lumbering and hotels and camping and motels and skiing and tourism, and I made a lot of transition over the years. There's been a lot of transition. Now we find ourselves here. Well, where do we want to go from here? Right. And change is inevitable, and you know, we can't just say we want exactly like things are going to happen because people have a right to buy a piece of property and do whatever they want with it.
No.
Probably want to take an inventory.
Whoop.
I have a question, because this is only a rumor that I've heard, and it would affect our town.
Uh-huh.
I heard that in this development stuff that they're doing at South Mountain, and again, this is a rumor, I have nothing to back this up. But I want to know if any of you guys have heard this, that there has been some talk about looking at the 1969 to 71 interstate designs that have an off-ramp coming up the east side of the river, right where Cox Farm Road is, and cutting into South Mountain, that there's some interest in looking into that to feed traffic into South Mountain rather than,
Oh, so that's where they do it.
well, that's already was designed into the plan back then.
I've heard those rumors also, and you know, and it kind of makes sense that probably this many years later, it's time to think about it. Sure. Given the traffic and all of these new hotels being built. But that's big corporate America. They've done their marketing studies. They somehow or other think we're gonna blossom here, like the Dickens, or they wouldn't be spending all that money on these brand new big hotels and the Riverwalk. All of that infrastructure
How
wouldn't
many
be being,
units are they talking
built.
about at Riverwalk?
I don't know, but a lot. I mean, look at the size of the building.
No, I mean across the street where they're already started cutting
Yeah.
new trails.
So then that would mean if they were coming on to the main street, they'd
No.
be using that one bridge
Yeah,
and weaving up through all those.
and
buildings.
what that's gonna do is people are gonna hate dealing with that. They're just gonna stay in their homes, not gonna come out to any other businesses. They're all blocked in because there's no other means of egress.
So,
we have one grocery store, basically, and then we have. So, yeah, there's a lot. And how much land is there left?
A lot,
And
there's a lot left, a lot, if you really look for it.
Yep.
There's a lot, good, awful lot.
that's good.
They can be repurposed or there's a lot.
what are the big lots though? That's the problem is, you have to have a certain amount of size to be able to do it.
Well, there's a few big ones. I mean, look at the road up on the hill. Starlaville, look at the land that's been cleared for the so-called wedding venue. Look at across the road
How
where
much
the
acreage is there?
spring water company was gonna go and didn't, and I've seen vehicles going in there. So they're looking at something in there. And so there are quite a few around, that we're not really focused on, but they're there. Steeper slopes. There's the ice castle that could very easily go year round. There's on and on you can go. On and on you can go,
Oh, you mean like kill the ice castle and do something else there, yeah,
or redevelop it
yeah.
to more. Anything can be double decked. I mean, I know a couple of people on the main street that are thinking about double decking their main street property and having businesses or rentals upstairs. The structures are substantial enough, so probably you can go up to a certain extent. You can go up, you don't have to.
Here's the thing, that's, and
You don't have
here's
to go
something that
out.
never got revisited. During the discussion of buying the ladder truck years ago, the discussion came up of the building heights for the highest building heights for roof eaves, which is 26 feet. So you get a, what's that?
Isn't it higher now? Did they just change that?
That's what I'm asking is,
I think
was
it's
it?
32.
It's like
Somewhere around
32
there.
now, it's been raised.
I think it's 32 now, but whatever, it's 3
32.
stories. It's 3 stories.
3 stories.
3.
See, when we're looking at all these different things, and we're talking about what everybody wants, and one of the things being development. If we got a 60-foot ladder truck, then we can go to 4 stories. If you're looking at somebody coming in and doing something here. The hotel in Lincoln just went up 4 stories.
But-
Everybody that's gonna wanna do something and sink some money in is gonna wanna do something serious.
Maximize the space.
Yeah,
With all that's happening a half a mile to a mile away from us, we can't assume nothing's gonna happen over here.
yeah, and 32 feet is gonna prevent somebody from doing it here when they can go higher there.
And who's in charge of the height limit?
I thought it was us.
That's a,
That's
select
I think
ordinance.
that's select.
That's an ordinance based on safety and fire, fire issues.
That was
Safety
the
issues.
whole reason of getting that ladder truck.
But it could be if something came along,
Needs to be fixed then.
How
It
high
could
is the
be-
ladder truck?
it could
60
be,
foot. I believe it's 60 foot. You don't sure if it's. I believe it's 60.
Pretty sure it's higher than 32.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was one thing we were thinking about in here. I don't know. When reading the rules, I didn't see height limits on something that was part of the planning board inside the RSA's, but I think it should be visited, definitely.
absolutely.
And that kind of leads into the discussion of the subdivision regulations
Yes.
because of, is it okay to bring that up now?
Yeah, no, let's just formally wrap this up and so, are you thinking we just need to, maybe have an agenda item? Let's have an agenda item, month after month after month, just have a little line on there. Vision planning.
Yeah. So we need more as
We need ideas.
what we had come up with, because it's not, our plan.
Could we announce that or
We should.
potentially propose it like at the town meeting or something like that,
Yes, we could bring it up. We can bring it up at the town meeting and hey, if we thought a grant or something, or permission to, or anything.
Is
Might
the,
help us out at town meeting, we certainly can, we could go to town meeting and ask for guidance or ask for a,
Just tell the people that that is, we're looking. Give input.
well, yeah, we can have it be on the warrant article somehow. For whatever we think we need, but, you know, there's a lot to think about, just, I won't go down through the list, but just, Christina and I. Just
What is the? town
thinking
meeting?
about it, we came up with a
it's March.
laundry list. It's
Like the second Tuesday in March.
like March, it's always like March 8th, 10th, 11th or something. Can you see on that calendar behind you, Christina, when the town
think it's
meeting
the-
is? March, it's the second one.
Second Tuesday.
It would be the seventh, no, the 14th.
What day is it?
The second Tuesday is the 14th.
13?
The
Second
14th,
Tuesday
14th.
is the 9th.
Of
Yeah,
March?
nice.
Am I looking at the wrong?
It's the 14th. March 14th.
Oh, my gosh.
Tuesday.
Yeah, because the first is a Wednesday.
Oh, that's about as late as it can be. But you know, there's a lot to think about. Do we want to be the bedroom community or the affordable housing community for
Lincoln?
our neighbor?
Yeah.
Do we want to play that role?
No.
Is that our lot in life? Is that,
I don't
Is
want
that
to pay
what
twice
we-
as much for the school as people in Lincoln do.
is that what we visualize? Which may has a lot of consequences if that is our, that is our future, yes, our share of the education costs go up. But are we going to be the bedroom community? You know, sometimes a place becomes a bedroom
We
community.
should
for
become
a
the more
bigger
exclusive.
job market, or do we want to compete and be and economically grow also? Do we want to go year round? Do we want to fill in the two off seasons? Do we want to try to come up with some year round entertainment, wholesome entertainment, for families?
Extra beer fists.
Do we want to hold events 2 or 3 times a year? Do we want to go back to the days when we had the Woodstock days? Or do we want to host, do we want to be known, like Brimfield's known for the biggest flea market in the world? I mean, do we want to be known for blah, 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 that brings tons of people in for 2 weeks a year? Do we
I'd say
want that?
talk to Sherry about putting in an amphitheater down there and do some serious concert venues with
Do we,
alcohol, and you'll get a lot of people in and make a ton of money.
yeah. I mean,
There's a
we
place
can-
called, you know, you got that
You'll be
nice,
security.
what's that?
You can be security.
I'll watch. But, you know, there's a place called Medicine, Oklahoma, that their town was dead, and they literally did that. They
Yeah.
created this outdoor venue to bring serious bands, ones that, you know, like today, I think they just had, REO Speedwagon recently. So not the #1 name bands out doing the concert halls right now, but well-known bands that would attract a lot of attention and get them out. You know,
Would crosswalks help us? Would better lighting help us? Would planters and
God.
trees help us? Would everybody painting their house and putting on lovely flower boxes or shutters help us? If we get everybody to decorate for the holidays, I noticed they got the Christmas lights and decorations going this year. Would you know, really decorating for holidays help us? Would jazzing up our storefronts help us? You know, what are our expansion opportunities and where are they? And.
We need to
um,
extend Main Street in some way, because it's,
Yeah, and it probably would be an extension towards Lincoln, South Main. And the
yeah,
Rustic River and the Montauk and the Wilderness seem to do something down there. Maybe that's the direction they head, you know, for more business opportunities. I don't know. Would we need to know our land uses currently and, you know, what
And
might
even this-
be available.
this stretch is gonna have to take some
And,
too, you know, you've got the campground. You know, with a lot of people, you've got Foss River, there's a lot of people that maybe they could just walk to something, you've got the ice cream place there and it's just room for more mom and pop, you know, mama pop style. So it doesn't have to be giant, so that somebody who had a modest means to be able to invest in something, have an idea and go for it.
Problem is, look at every business today is suffering because there's no snow. If our climate change is gonna eliminate our winter. What happens then? Because everything collapses. The entire market.
I'll
For
tell you
housing
right
here,
now, it's
down
labor,
to-
labor's killing, I mean,
Well, labor today, but you get, I mean, look at the snow out there. Have you ever seen it like this
no,
in your time? I never have, ever. Not once is it.
well, I've had
this
January thaws where it was,
January thaws, but
yeah,
no snow all the way through to mid-January.
God has a sense of humor.
He's a funny man.
so, you know, we need to know what we wanna be.
I think it would be,
When we
I think it
grow up.
would be interesting to see what people think. And
Yeah,
say.
we just need, and somebody's gonna say something, oh my God, that's exactly, sounds good.
Remember, Oaks started as a place and then they
Yeah.
horses some big troughs to make the ponds. And you had all the different connecting ponds because they were breeding the fish. Coaches would come in, they would fish. And if they wanted to, they could cook, they would have their fish cooked and they'd be served. Before it became a jewelry studio, that's where people have some really cool ideas. And
Another thing we should do is probably talk with Waterville Valley. Snowmobiling has become a big thing. There's trails that could take you to Waterville Valley, and there's plenty of people that would love to go down there and go to the town square down there. And with snowmobiles as advanced as they are now with the 4-cylinder engines and how quiet they are now. Maybe it's time to see if they would consider opening that up because they're having their struggles too,
Triple I Road, it goes right out
all the way up
over
there
there, and you could snowmobile certainly,
easily.
with
And
permission.
some of that's gonna get in state regulation things too, which are pretty tight.
I know,
But you've got a railroad track too. that
It's National
keeps-
Forest, the road, and it's already open for snowmobiles.
Oh,
The National Forest has been opened up all the way up to the gate going to Waterville forever. It's the town that's not allowing it, not the National
Okay.
Forest. So it could be done very easily if the town.
Oh, you need
agreed to it.
to have a train. And railroad. That. And if it gets as crowded as it feels like it might get, like with Lincoln, with all this conference center and all that, it's great, but you're gonna be bringing people in. To be taken care of, to do the services. So they've gotta live somewhere.
yeah, they gotta live someplace.
And maybe just you park somewhere and actually has a train, that's how they used to come up over there with Deer Park, they show you the train station that was down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, people would come up by the train and spend the summer.
Wouldn't that be something if they ran a train from here to Plymouth so that people from Plymouth could come up and work up
You used
there?
to have to take a truck. There was a train that would get you to Plymouth.
Mhm.
And back, would go down in the morning, come back or something like that for twice a day. For people that had to, shop.
Clark's runs vans over to Woodsville to get employees and bring them back.
Oh, I
every day.
know, I've been behind them.
Transportation was one of the things that came out and discussed on transportation is definitely public transportation of some sort or a way for employees to get here and live in Dalton or someplace and get here reasonably to get the job. So anyway, lots to think about and we've started the process and look, it's been fun, like right now, we're just bantering around ideas. And this trend needs to keep going because shame on us if we just let things happen to us and just say, oh, that's great. If we don't think it's great. All right, so we'll put it on the agenda every month and what does anybody want to do? Do we want a subcommittee of citizens or do we want to find opportunities?
Let's
We'll have
pull
to
it up,
talk.
see what develops.
Okay,
Somebody might take a lead from that.
yeah. All righty, anything else from folks in the audience on Zoom or present? Any comments anybody wants to make? All right, we have one more major piece of business.
Yeah, two more of the two cities.
Oh, two more, okay. Oh, two more, you're right. The subdivision regulation revisions. Robert had 3 comments he brought up and Laura went through, and there are 2 versions, the one we have now and Laura's suggested changes. That we need to look at, probably not tonight, we won't get very far into it. But there's 2 drafts, if everybody on the board or in the audience want to take the 2 versions and look at it and see if the law or the attorney's proposed amendments make sense or not. We can go from there. We did a wordsmith through, just check the RSA's and make sure it's still current. Yeah, Margaret found, yes.
I went through it with a fine tooth comb.
Margaret went through it for sure. She did her homework, went through it, and found one thing that's kind of major for us to think about, plus some others. You want to go?
Do you want me to address Robert's 3 points first, or
Yeah,
You want to just do them in order, whatever the numerical order
Yeah.
is?
yeah, just
do you
do
want me to go through them in order, or do you want me to do your 3 and then go back?
Does anybody have anything that they're concerned about that's earlier?
Yes, I do.
Let's go with
Okay.
whatever in the order that they are.
Okay.
We could just go, no worries, no worries. move right
And
through and get
here's
done with it.
who wants the attorney amended one and the current one?
So I have a lot of nitpicky stuff, which I'm not gonna go through every detail, but,
That's it.
All right,
the first one is
that's both of them.
What's that?
number 214. Where it talks about the 100-year flood. That in the floodplain ordinance has been changed to base flood elevation. It occurs several places throughout the subdivision regulations. And we should change it to base flood elevation here as well, to be consistent with the current wording.
Which that's well, right now, that's something that we should do, right? Change it to the current.
Or special flood hazard area. So that depending on the
There's a-
context.
Big difference between base floodplain and 100-year flood.
Yeah.
Base floodplain is,
It's not though, what they're talking about in the new floodplain ordinance, and we'll see when we get to it. Their base floodplain, the way they're currently defining it now is what they're calling what we used to call the 100-year flood level.
So that's what they want to have.
That's the
As a
language that they're
standard?
currently using.
Bonnie,
Yeah,
we talking about floodplain now?
yep,
We're
Yeah.
talking about subdivision, but we're talking about one piece of language from
Wait a minute.
floodplain.
Oh, I can't hear. I need some, what are we talking about, Bonnie?
subdivision regulations.
Okay, that's what I thought. How did we get over the floodplain? That's what I was curious.
It's one piece of language from the floodplain ordinance that applies to subdivision.
Section 2.14.
Yeah, it's a definition in the subdivision regulation called floodplain 100-year.
So my recommendation is that we change that definition so that it's consistent with the floodplain ordinance
And that
and throughout
makes sense.
where it occurs.
Can we agree that
Who
makes sense?
changed the floodplain ordinance to make that the norm? Maybe we ought to change that back.
That came from,
The state,
the
federal,
side,
actually federal.
something else, OPD.
But if we're reviewing the
Whatever they're called.
floodplain ordinances and we can change those, just like we're changing this.
Except that we can't because that's being dictated to us. We need to use their language.
Then what are we doing with the floodplain that requires us to make changes? You're
So
confusing me
we're getting recommendations from the state level that for changes that have to be made into the floodplain ordinance. And some of it,
Recommendations? If you're saying recommendations, then that's all they are, and I'm not overly concerned with what everybody else wants us to do.
All right.
if we,
Can I make a statement?
Sure,
if we don't make the changes the way that they want them to, it's gonna be out of compliance.
it may jeopardize folks' floodplain insurance.
I'm gonna wanna look
If we
into
don't.
this one more closely before I can support a change on this or that.
Okay, the floodplain one, if we don't support the changes in time to get it onto the ballot for town meeting, then it's gonna have to wait another year before it's gonna be approved.
Okay. I'd rather
Bonnie?
we just jump and do something. I wanna know for sure. before.
Patrick?
Yeah, I'm gonna put my objection, the same objection I had the last time the floodplain ordinance came up. We have nothing to do with the floodplain floodplain ordinance, okay? The selectmen dumped it on us because they don't have a floodplain board. And I'm getting tired of the planning board getting dumped on when the town doesn't know what to do when they don't have somebody else on the board. When they don't have somebody that runs for their board. There's supposed to be a floodplain board. If they don't have it, that's their problem. It shouldn't be dumped on the planning board. Everything gets dumped on the planning board, which is the only fully unpaid board in the town. All right, dump it on somebody who gets a little money to do the job. I'm not complaining about doing the job of the planning board. I put my name in the hat for that, but I'm getting tired of the planning board getting dumped on. This is the same argument I made the last time it came up for the planning board to do floodplain ordinance, and then Scott took it and did it himself as a select. What's that?
So Scott took it, he worked with you, Kathy, and with experts from the state to make sure that the changes would be in compliance, and has brought back a marked up revised version for us that has all of the changes that have been checked at state level, and is just asking us to read through it and sign off on it. He's not asking us to do the work, he's asking us to ratify the work. So that it can get on the ballot in time for town meeting.
I don't think we should be doing. I don't think we should be doing anything with the floodplain ordinance. That's just my opinion.
I do not want to go ahead and make changes to follow what somebody at the state level wants us to do to meet something that the state wants us to do rather than what the townspeople wants. And I need to know for my own conscience that when you say it's a suggestion, that's all it is then. If there's some rule that says we have to do something, I need to know in my head that that's true. I
But
need to validate that.
I've been through the
Then show it to me. That's all I'm saying. Show me the documentation that makes that real. I don't,
Okay.
I never take anybody's word. This is not personal. I simply have.
I
to
don't have the
see-
training material with me today because I didn't realize that I was gonna be quizzed on it. The document
Well-
was here, it was in the packet that you were emailed
Mhm.
to be reviewed tonight. Nobody questioned it.
Except for
until we
none of
got
it was
here.
in the red on this particular one.
It-
I read every word and every
You're
word.
holding up the subdivision regulation, not the floodplain regulation.
Right,
which is
and that's
also
what we're
in the packet.
talking about, is the subdivision regulation. You're asking me to go and change it to meet what somebody else is saying is the new subdivision regulation. And you're saying the old division is changed to this.
Okay,
division.
let's just drop this one wording for now and move on with subdivision.
Okay. No, this is our job, to question these things and know what we're doing. It's not a Jesus Christ thing. It is our job, and that's what I will do in this job.
The other, I want to make a comment about state recommendations.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
All
Patrick.
right, the state recommends things all the time. Okay, the state doesn't mandate much of anything. Every once in a while they do. Because if they mandate something that costs the town money, then they'd be financially responsible for trying to kick in some money to help whatever the town costs. So everything that the state does is a recommendation. So as far as I'm concerned, the state can fly off the handle for all I care, because I don't care what they say.
I've got the backup stuff that Margaret didn't bring, because it's in the same pile of papers that I lug around. And I do have all that backup stuff, when Margaret and I went
So-
to a training thing on it, oh, must have been 2 years ago, just like,
Hang on to that and we'll look at it when we get to floodplain.
well, I'm thinking we might need to do that first.
We can just skip over that one
All right.
question because what I'm gonna recommend when we get to the end of this is that we go back and put a lot of these recommendations that I'm making into writing in a revision of this and look at it again next month.
Okay, but I do have an example of warrant article when we,
Okay.
all right, if you want to do it that way, when we come to the floodplain ordinance discussion. It's basically, all we need to do is ask, put a simple warrant article. Period, so they can get their flood insurance. That's all we're doing, that's all we're doing, we're deferring to the state, we're saying, okay, we're not gonna make new ordinances, we're not gonna try to second guess the state, we're just gonna say, oh, that's great. And so that
But the
folks
state
can
has
get their
pushed
flood
it all the way
insurance.
back to 250 feet from.
Yes.
from
And
water.
we can't do anything about that,
That,
Right,
period,
they just did it.
that's shoreline protection. The other way.
right,
Floodplain is a different ordinance.
right. Okay, why don't you continue?
Okay, 2.22 minor subdivision. So we've always looked at this one as being less than 3. This wording says shall mean a subdivision of land into not more than 3 lots for building development purposes, or one which does not involve the creation of new streets. And my question here is that the way this is worded, it looks like it could still view to the minor subdivision if it was more than 3 lots, but the roads were already in place.
I agreed with Margaret with her interpretation
It's
of that,
intent.
and that's not.
So if somebody
really-
had a major subdivision with all the roads in place and built 50 new lots, you would still call it a minor subdivision?
If the public streets were already in place and it didn't require any new streets or any new town stated infrastructure, meaning sewerage, which around here, most places don't have it. And there's no cost to the town, then yes.
See, that's not what it says here. It just says new streets.
Mhm.
It doesn't say anything about the rest of the infrastructure.
That one is worthy of really thinking about it, because that is a change in how we look at things. A lot of these things are just wordsmithing and referring to the right RSA or whatever, but that one we should earmark to have a really, really good discussion on it next month. Christina, let's write down that thought, not Christina. I'm Kathy. Kathy, Christina, Kathy, write down, let's have a discussion on, just make a note, we would really want to have a discussion on that, because that is a change in how we've been doing business. And let's just, go through and see if there's others that
A lot of this is just
we need discussion on.
wordsmithing, in the 3.04 section 3. The minor lot line adjustment. Laura comments that that section is describing what to do with the plat, whereas the rest of sections 1 and 2 in there talk about the application procedure, and she's right. So, it looks like it needs a little bit of restructuring of how this is worded, to include the application procedure for a boundary line adjustment.
So if you think of that needs to be moved
So
somewhere,
I'm thinking that this piece needs to be moved to 4.11 and then put in the stuff from RSA 464 4E1 about public hearings not being required for minor lot line adjustments.
Well, the
Then
thing
you
is,
just need to notify abutters and fill in the application.
3.03 is at the board's discretion. Nobody doing a subdivision is required to show us. Whether they want to build what building or anything, they can just say, I'm not building anything. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna-"
It's
Design.
just about the structure of the document,
Mhm.
that we're not consistent in the structure of the
so
document.
let's trigger that. as
Two
something.
application procedures and one filing.
Let's trigger that as something to come back and look at.
Let me just put it in for-
3.04. Number 3.
3.04. Number 3.
Is that the notice of some?
Minor lot line adjustment. In that section, it's the filing procedure rather than the application procedure, whereas the previous two have been the application procedure. So it's just about the position in the document where the stuff is.
I was confused about what you're saying. I understand now. I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Did that bring up that one I was thinking of?
Let's see. So 3.07, that brings us to the first one of your points.
Yeah.
I looked at this one and RSA 474.39 now says it's a 5-year exemption, which is why I took it out, because that would have made our regulation more strict than what the state provides for.
That's what I was wondering, because I thought it was a 5-year, and I thought if we're taking this out and we were not going to have the exemptions at all, that would be a true deterrence to development.
Yeah, no, that's not what we're doing. We're just going with the state regulation, which is the 5-year.
Okay.
changing it to 5. Okay,
Good.
get that one.
Oh, above that too, earlier on the page, there's filing fees that are written into the document. And I was gonna recommend that throughout this document, we pull all the fees out and reference a schedule of fees so that we could change that without having to redo the regulation.
Oh,
every time
excellent.
the fees
Yeah,
change.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a real good idea to become outdated fast.
Let's see. There were a couple other places where from the definitions, she had recommended moving things into the body of the document, and I had found the places where we could move them to.
Some places you said, see, RSA, whatever it means, to just put in C.
Yeah, she just meant to
RSA,
reference the RSA
just
instead of us
reference it, Not
typing it all out.
typing it all out. That made
Yeah.
sense to me. Just
And then
put the-
there's, Robert's point for 4.06. Which, yeah, that, here she's referencing the RSA as well, which is basically saying the same thing as the part that she took out. Which is that we coordinate with the other municipality.
Yeah, I
make sure that
said
we
right
stay
on my thing,
involved.
I'm confused at what was going on there. Now that I understand, it, but I'm good with that.
Okay.
Okay,
And then the last one was, your point in 4.11. Which, this is just the wording on the plat when it's submitted, and I think what she's doing here is rolling variances into the word modification.
The thing is, that's a very different word.
It is a
Modification,
It is a different word, but it's not taking away our right to offer variances, it's just.
the
It's just
definition of
bundling it,
modification says we get to make the change.
right,
Variance means somebody can request it of us.
this is just the wording of what's written on the plat when it's submitted, though, in this particular. Section of the ordinance, it's not taking away our right to offer a variance, it's just not writing it on the plat itself when we submit it.
Is variances discussed somewhere else
Yeah,
in the document?
it is.
All right, let's just note to make sure variances are still mentioned somewhere.
Is the word? That's just a spelling error where it says pate of plat.
Yeah, there's a
This is
bunch of
part-
places where there's spelling errors through it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm recommending that. I
Okay.
do a revision of this and correct all the spelling errors and get things into the right place in the document and submit it to you again next month for us to review it the second time.
With all my three,
Oh,
and I read
good.
this in detail, I mean, I
Yeah.
really read every single word. And
Thank you for that.
And what I'll do is get a better. I'm getting tired now. I'll get you a better set of information about that base flood elevation and special flood hazard area.
yeah, any chance you can get when they change that wording on that end?
I may be able to get all of those details. It made sense to me at the time when I was going through it earlier today, when I was better rested. It's late enough in the day right now that
No
my
worries,
brain's starting to shut down.
no worries at all. Give me, I very much need to know, in my mind, if I don't know what RSA, the details of the entire RSA that somebody
Yeah.
quotes, and if I
That's
don't
why I
know it in
make
my head.
meticulous notes and things when I'm planning to discuss them in a meeting.
Yeah, because
So you're willing to go through and come up with an amended draft with these
For the subdivision.
changes? And the only one that seemed to trigger was, the 3-year,
Yeah, that one we'll need to discuss.
3-year or street,
And
or existing
Yeah,
street.
I'll talk to Laura
Concept.
too and make sure that there's not something I'm missing about.
All
that.
right, okay.
well, the way it's worded too, it allows you, now you, like you said, 50 units. It allows you with that wording to say no to 50 units. Because you can go back to the 3 and they can say, well, there's streets there. Yes, there are. But this is where we go with the difference between a variance and a modification. It's a,
Sure.
no, we're not gonna
And,
do 50.
You know, obviously, my example was an extreme case that I don't think anybody would take seriously.
But it's a fair example because it's real until you define those things. So
Right.
I agree, 50 would not, that's major.
Yeah, I just don't want us to leave a loophole in our ordinance that somebody could walk through.
Mhm.
Well, we don't want it to be 3 or whatever the street will handle.
Right.
We could simply say,
Which
you know,
would be 50,
3 without question, 4, bring us a plan and you then request a variance, something like that.
I mean, they used to always have to demonstrate, do a traffic study or whatever. To demonstrate if they want quite a few, quite a substantial number, they have to. They have to demonstrate that that won't overtax the road, while the people coming and going. Back and forth to work and so forth. You know, that always was in there,
Right.
that you could vary the number based on the traffic counts.
Sure. Yeah,
How can the street handle it?
and we always have the opportunity to offer someone a variance if there's a good reason for it.
Sure.
Mhm.
All right, or we can have them do a traffic study and prove it, you know, that's always been there. All right, that's that. We're on to the floodplain ordinance, which needs to go to town meeting. And the sample warrant out, they want.
Oh, okay, so it actually does say at the top of this document. The changes were identified during a review by the New Hampshire Office of Planning and Development on September 19th, 2022. changes are included below. No changes are needed to the subdivision regulation. Well, that's weird, okay.
All right, well, we can leave the subdivision regulations same, with your floodplain.
Okay.
If we're good with that, we can vote on it right now then.
Well, I would still think there's things that need to be corrected in there.
Oh, that's right, you want to do it.
Let's get
Spelling now.
it corrected,
Good, let's get it cleaned up and then we'll vote on it.
and clarify that 3 unit versus the street. And the ordinance that they want, this is the same ordinance, where the heck? Back page of it, I think. What they are saying. What did I say? You have it there, the same ordinance?
But here, if they won the Woodstock basketball game, curious if anybody got a message whether or not they won the Woodstock basketball.
I don't know, I wondered. What do you think it's called? I had it right here. We have the wording so that we know how we feel about that sample warrant article. Do you have it? Remember I started reading it, I need to wait. Oh, here we are. Sample warrant article. Consistent with RSA 675(3), the planning board will need to hold a public hearing on the proposed to your ordinance. But it is recommended that all the changes be combined into a single warrant article for action by the voters at the annual town meeting. Question presented to the voters can be simple and direct, and does not need to include the text of the amendment themselves. The following is a sample question that can be used. Are you in favor of the adoption of amendment number whatever as proposed by the planning board for the town floodplain ordinance as follows? As necessary, and then you put in some wording. Oh,
Then it would have to be each of the sections of the ordinance that need to be amended.
yeah, as necessary to comply with the requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program.
Yeah, that's what I found too, but there's several sections, so we'd have to. We'd have to go through them
So
one by
the
one.
insurance company wants to dictate.
I mean, in essence, that's what the situation is. It's to enable, the only reason you go through all of this business is so that folks that want it can get flood insurance. Period. We're not regulating
It's just that it's not mandated.
we're not regulating the floodplain. I mean, that's something we kind of defer to the state. We don't, other than building permits, there's language in the building permit ordinance that you need to comply with the before you can build it, elevate the electrical, elevate the living quarters and all that business. That's important.
The main things that are changed in it are the things that we learned about in that workshop that you and I went to
Yeah.
in Warren, which are, they've changed the names of some of the zones in Woodstock. So we've got zone AE, which is considered a water course. So it's basically in the water and no construction is allowed there. Then there's zone A, which is an area where,
You can go down through, it's kind of lengthy, I've got some markups here, you got it there, it's the same as one you got. So basically, they are changing, they're calling it mean level. Not NG, VVD, mean sea, there's a new term, mean sea level, they want us to use that. Yeah, they want us to say board of selectmen, not building inspector. Because the
they
board of
changed that
selectmen
too.
is the
to-
boss of the building inspector, so they want board of selectmen
There's a subsequent change to that, so it's Board of Selectmen or their designee.
or their designate, okay? And then they've got, they are changing something within zone AE, within zone A. And in this document, they want to say base flood elevation, 100 year. And then in zone AE, the elevation is such and such, zone A, it's such and such.
But you're saying
Zone
base flood
AO.
elevation was there, the definition of it was changed. To the
Yeah.
same as the 100 years.
Yes, yes.
So what's the 100 year? Do they mention 100 year anywhere in
So
there?
the definition of base flood elevation in their definitions is,
Because what you're doing is you're allowing bureaucracy to control much more land with that definition.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yep,
so a base flood is a flood having a 1% possibility of being equated or exceeded in any given year. And base flood elevation is the elevation of surface water resulting from a base flood.
so that can be any year.
So
not
anywhere in there, do they talk about a 100 year flood anymore?
No,
It's not, that verbiage is not anywhere in there at all.
no, they're taking it out.
And who is the, you know, God of Webster's dictionary that allows them to just change the definition to that?
I
Because
think it
that,
came from FEMA.
it doesn't fit.
It probably comes from FEMA, and base flood elevation, what you just read. It can be. Can be. Any change, I mean, read that again, it's not necessarily a
It
big,
doesn't take very long for like cascade stuff,
like 100 year flood.
and then it's gone as quickly too.
What is, read
Ba-
that definition.
Base flood is the flood having a 1% possibility of being equated or exceeded in any given year. And base flood elevation is the elevated surface water resulting from the base flood.
Which is vastly different.
Vastly different. That
from
could be,
100 year
that's
flood.
what. That is a
But
much
they're trying
more
to create-
stringent. That's a much more stringent.
So I will check
Standard,
FEMA to find out what the 100 year flood definition is.
So
yeah,
To see if there's controversy between what FEMA is saying and what this is saying.
I think 100 year floodplain definition is. It's likely to, it's a flood likely to occur every 100 years, you might have two back to back,
based on,
but in
Well,
general.
the thing is, this
odds
gives insurance
being-
companies a much broader area of coverage.
based on our subdivision regulation, a 100-year flood is an area that is likely to be flooded once every 100 years or 1% chance of occurring each year. So
Right.
it's roughly the same thing with slightly different wording.
Yeah.
It's still talking about 1% chance of being flooded.
But it just said in 100 years. Right there.
Wait, once every 100 years
100% chance,
is,
you got a one, if. it's
1
a
year out of
100 year,
100 is 1% every year.
One year out of 100 is a 1%.
1%. So, and you want to make that considered the norm? That means only the chance of 1 in 100 years will this area flood. And the insurance company wants to get you to pay insurance all the way up to that now, instead of where it used to be.
It's the same thing as what it used to be. It's just worded slightly differently.
Well, that's what I'm gonna research.
But they-
Figure out.
Yeah, you do your research, and what is our, we gotta have our hearing. In order to be ready for. Town meeting, it's got to be. When's our next meeting? It's got to be,
Our next meeting is, February. No, we're late in February.
we may have to have the public hearing before the next meeting. We may have to have a special meeting in order to meet.
Yeah, February 13th, it won't be in time.
It won't, no, that's too close, I believe. Cheryl's on, maybe she can hold it exactly, or we can look it up. But, I think if we need to have a meeting sooner to, adopt this and work on it some more, to be ready for the town meeting, when we're gonna ask them.
Can we get
Yeah.
the old last year's floodplain map
Yes,
and show me the difference of this change on that map?
we need somebody, there's a reason they changed that definition. There has to be.
Yeah, make the insurance.
You know how you say it one way or you say it another way, there's gotta be a
Yeah.
reason.
We can ask, Katie Nelson at OPD.
All right, let's write that down to get the answer to why in the world are you now calling it base flood elevation versus 100-year flood? When the statistics sound similar, why did you feel compelled to change words?
To be able to take over land, that's what it
There's
is.
gotta be a
Yeah.
reason.
More controls on land.
That's, yeah, along with, all of a sudden they can restrict houses being all the way around
And,
the lake until they're totally in charge, and then their houses will be around. the lake. EPA, that's
And
people that aren't even vote against.
Mhm.
base flood elevation means the elevation of surface water resulting from the base flood.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Base flood means the flood having a 1% possibility of being equated or exceeded in any given year. So the base flood elevation means
It's how,
the elevation of the water,
right, how big the flood is,
Mhm.
how big it is.
which can change depending on how drained it is or what the flood cause is.
But the thing is, what they're saying is, that definition, instead of what the average floodplain is over 100 years, we need to take the data of every year, how much flooding or not flooding there is, and what that elevation of water would be, and how high that would go for the average. That would be your base. You go to the 100-year, then you're just taking whatever the highest possible one has been in the last 100 years, you're raising it all the way up
Yes.
to there. And then you're taking, and you're trying to regulate all that additional land. The water, because the water would extend further inland because it's a higher volume of water. And it's trying to regulate more and more of people's land.
That's not what it's saying.
That's what it's doing.
I think it's what it's doing.
Yeah.
I think
It's
Ron's
like
right.
having a bar graph, all of a sudden, you've got one looking like this, but then they go and they chop it here.
Mhm.
And it doesn't look that bad. But you don't see this, it's manipulation.
So it's
It's- you're
completely
focusing on-
changing that line on your map that it's showing for the average versus it's moving it way back.
It's instead of focusing on, okay, here's 100-year floodplain here, this is a big one.
Why
Why
not
would
this
this
is
is a huge flood,
open themselves up
and
to.
that's what you're
Especially the
making
insurance
against.
company wants more
As
houses that
opposed
are
to
in
the
the
1%.
floodplain to buy more insurance. Because if you have a loan, the bank is gonna make you buy.
I think insurance is
Insurance.
going, I think insurance
Regulations.
rates are gonna go through the roof.
Does it make you buy it?
Forces people to buy flood
Making
insurance.
more people buy the insurance?
Insurance is amazing. Yes, more
It's
people. are
scaring
to buy.
people, it's scaring people, they're going to have to.
And
insure.
banks mortgaging properties would insist on people having that insurance. They wouldn't have a choice.
The
unless they
banks are
owned it
gonna
outright.
insist, if you have to insure for this little bit. As opposed to way up here, people think 100-year flood, well, that's not gonna happen in my lifetime, it's 100-year flood, it's just, they just had one 10 years ago. That's, everybody's perception is. You
Got 90 years to go.
you got 90 years ago versus measuring it every year. It's the same 1% chance per year. It's the same 1% chance per year, but you're having to insure for that 1% chance.
Exactly, when you don't have to.
And
now.
so insurance is gonna go up. And
Numbers
banks are gonna want it,
Requiring insurance, is required to have insurance, is gonna skyrocket.
it's gonna skyrocket, the people that need to apply for it to feel safe and feel protected. And the cost is gonna
Also
go
to
up.
keep their land.
The cost is gonna go up. I think it makes a major difference, but even though it sounds like the same, I think it's a different focus. I really think it is. So we gotta find out. We'll find that out. And, flood opening is an opening in the foundation of the wall that allows entry and exit of the flood waters. We've always had that. I don't know.
Yeah,
See their bulletin. Definition of fundamental dependent use is gone.
The other big important change is the, substantial improvement
Yeah.
clause.
Substantial improvement means any any reconstruction, rehabilitation, addition, or other improvement of a structure, the cost of which equals or exceeds 50% of the market value of the structure before the start of construction of the improvement. This term includes structures that have incurred substantial damage regardless of the actual repair work performed. It does not include project for improvement of a structure to correct existing violations of state or local health, sanitation, safety codes, which have been identified by the code enforcer. Any alteration of a historic structure, provided that the alteration will not preclude the structure's continued designation of a historical structure. So it sounds like substantial improvement, the definition has been broadened to any reconstruction,
Any
anything,
construction
anything.
that exceeds 50% of the market value of the house,
Even if
Which
it's
is fair.
requires bringing it up to code.
any reconstruction exceeds 50% of the
the thing
value of the
is,
structure.
the
So the
one-
structure's worth
the one thing is, any person can get around that. All they gotta do is do a smaller project, finish that, and then do another project.
Absolutely.
So it's easy to get around, so I'm not worried about it, it's a fair definition, if you're gonna go. Gut a house and rebuild it, I mean, the one on Main Street, Colley's house.
Yeah,
They went in, they added a section under it, they gutted it, they redid, that's a major.
Yeah.
Major
Yeah.
job, they put some serious money in it,
Yeah, looks
Oh.
nice.
and they did a nice, yeah, absolutely. But that would be an example of a major versus minor.
All right.
I think the intention of that too is
So,
that if once it's getting repeatedly destroyed by floods, to not allow it to just be patched together with that tape.
and having to replace
Yep.
50%,
I'm okay with
more than 50% is a substantial amount, it's not just a little. The rec room got destroyed. If you're going to replace 50% of your structure, that's major. And that's it, right? We came to the end. So we've only got
Yeah, just a couple things.
couple things. So we will research those couple of things, right? And let's find out whether we can wait and have the hearing and adopt it at our next meeting. Or if there's a deadline before that,
I'm pretty sure there's a deadline.
Yeah, we'll have to just have a special meeting.
We'll have to have
in
a
2 weeks
special
and
meeting
Post it
in
and
2
knock
weeks.
this out.
let's plan on having a meeting in 2 weeks, 2 Mondays from now or something.
Bonnie, I have to be careful with taking time
Okay.
off, because it really throws a
All right.
wrench,
Throws a wrench into your
you know, it's,
job and everything.
yeah, so
So
Monday and Tuesday, I work from 10 to closing,
yeah,
and it's all the cleanup and everything. and
Yeah.
When it's down to just 2
We don't
people.
have to do it on a Monday.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting,
okay,
if we could have it,
all right.
how does that work for anyone else?
What night works? Let's look at our book and say we're going to have a meeting to.
I will not
Correct.
close any night because I'm
And-
partially responsible for the meeting.
Let's find out how quickly we can get the answers to the
Sorry.
questions and then we can
It's
schedule
how
a
my
meeting over
brain works,
email.
you know?
All right, we'll schedule a meeting. What nights are impossible? We'll avoid a Monday. if we rest you guys, anything?
If we did a little later, I could do Thursday. Or not Thursdays are my hard days, because kids have
Thursdays are
gymnastics.
hard, okay.
I could probably make him work. If we don't do him till March, he can pick them up. And then I can be here.
And I
I
want
can't
to
do Thursday for the next 2 weekends just because of closing on my house. I have to get out of work and then I head over there, so that
Okay, let's.
closing's on a Friday and
Because
then
we
we have
have
to-
Thursday, that's work for me, so.
Okay, I mean, Thursdays are difficult, but I can do any other day.
The only day I really,
Okay, so-
really want to
So
avoid,
that sounds like Wednesday.
Wednesday, Friday, whatever, it's fine.
Wednesday would work for me.
the only day I really want to avoid is,
And we don't have any conflict with voter registry or anything like that, I don't think.
Wednesdays are budget, committee, but they'll.
I want to avoid, the week of the 30th.
Well,
So we'll have it for them.
it's gonna have to be before that anyway, because. If the annual report has to be by the 23rd, I'm pretty sure it's got to be.
I'm pretty sure that 23rd that they gave me for that is
It's probably the deadline. to
Yeah.
get anything on the ballot.
23rd. The 23rd is, I'm pretty sure the deadline. All right, so, we'll have the special meeting and we'll research the answers to those things and have that. Anything else? Where is the agenda?
I think we're done to any other business at this point, and public participation.
Any public participation? Any public participation?
Bonnie, I got something to say.
Sure.
Last
Patrick?
meeting, unfortunately, last meeting I wasn't there. That's because the time change screwed me up and the late meeting and the month screwed me up, but that's what happens, okay? I'm traveling between time zones and it's driving me crazy. That being said, I was a little disappointed that the board as a whole decided to push together and claim something as a subdivision after the attorney told us it was a subdivision. I don't care about who the thing is or not. We have an attorney. The attorney gave us a legal ruling. I believe it was the North Country Council gave us advice, but not a legal ruling. All right. I'm quite disappointed that Scott didn't follow the advice, especially didn't follow the advice of the attorney, because he makes quite a big point in the selectmen's meetings to say we have to do this because the attorney said so. All right, I just want to express my disappointment that the board pushed something through against the advice of the attorney. And I guess it's my own fault because I wasn't at the meeting to speak up the last time myself. So I just wanted to get that out on the record that I don't think it's right that we went against the advice of somebody we pay quite a bit of money to over the course of the year to give us legal advice. That's it.
Let me speak to you, Pat, on that. I have witnessed many legal renderings from that attorney, and I find that she can be rather biased in a political sense. And I've had to question and have complete information provided on several occasions. So I do not necessarily consider her renderings 100% accurate.
All right, well, that's,
So,
Well,
and that is my experience with her, and that's why I had no problem, because the North Country's opinion was also based on an attorney that they had dealt with.
it
So,
was the local government center, New Hampshire Municipal.
all right.
Association.
All
Not
right.
Nutley Council, it's
Well-
New Hampshire Municipal.
Mhm.
And so we will record, the both of yours opinions, which is what they are, their opinions. The board voted, it is a legal vote. I voted no. I felt that we should follow the town attorney's advice. That was my vote. But if each one of
I
us.
understand it's a done deal. Okay, I'm mostly disappointed in Scott Rice because he holds this lady in fine esteem when it comes to something he wants, but then when somebody that he's friends with or somebody else wants something, then her opinion means nothing. All right, so, and I will remind him of this the next time he brings it up at the selectmen's meeting, that the lawyer advised us to do this. Okay, and we're gonna do it that way because she advised us. Well, it works both ways, no matter what board you're on. So,
Okay.
thank you.
for your- Thank you for your comments, and do we have anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
I
adjourn,
second that.
thank you,
Everyone say aye. Aye. Well, aye.
thank you. And keep coming to our meetings, John,
Yes, it's
You'll-
only,
you'll
we're
learn
only
a
talking
lot.
two of them here, you know, this.
and
I studied politics. I love it.
you got
It has a